After Saturday's event in Charlottesville, the word neo-Nazis has once again become trending on the screens of social media in the context of the torch rally held prior to the tragedy. But when similar torch rallies and quite open glorification of Nazism happens in Europe, few in the U.S. pay attention to that. RT's Alexey Yaroshevsky reports.
This may look like last weekend's rally with torches in Charlottesville, except it's not. This happens every year, sometimes even twice a year, in the heart of Europe, Ukraine's capital, Kiev, and doesn't seem to surprise anyone anymore. These people march in support of the 1940s insurgency movement in Ukraine, the UPA, saying that they were heroes who fought for Ukraine's independence from the Soviet Union. The problem is that in this fight, the UPA army openly collaborated with the Nazi invading army, killing tens of thousands of Jews, Poles, and Russians in the process. There was even an SS battalion, Nachtigal, operating in Ukraine and led by the man who founded the UPA army, Roman Shukhevich, who was behind the anti-Jewish pogroms in the western Ukrainian city of Lvov on June 30th, 1941. Basically the first thing his battalions did when they marched into the city. Up to 2,000 Lvov's Jews were massacred within the month of July back then. What did that have to do with, fighting for the country's independence? Open neo-Nazism, or glorification of those who fought alongside Nazis, is not something new for Europe. In some countries, those are reduced to underground cells. In many others, people with such views are actually in power or out in the streets. From Ukrainian far-right nationalists openly sporting Nazi runes and SS symbols, to marches in the Baltic states in memory of members of the Baltic SS legions, and openly fascist Golden Dawn Party in Greece. But all that rarely gets attention of the mainstream media in the United States. Just recently, the Washington Post finally rang the alarm bells in this article, suggesting that the far-right ultras in Ukraine were holding the government by something no one wants to be held by and act with absolute impunity, which does not let Ukraine embrace the values it's supposed to embrace. But that was a rare exception when Senator John McCain and House Speaker Paul Ryan tweeted out their gleaming impressions of meeting Ukrainian Parliament Speaker Andrei Parubiy, the man whose book proudly showed him with one of the Nazi SS symbols. There was no outrage and not a word on the mainstream media. And sometimes it gets even borderline bizarre when the official Twitter account of NATO tweeted out promotional clip of the Forest Brothers, the 1940s-50s insurgency guerrilla movement in the Baltic states, which also fought against what they called the Soviet occupation. But apparently NATO, the organization which was created right after the fall of fascism in Europe, cared little for the fact that many of those guerrillas were former members of the SS battalions, as admitted even by Latvian historians on the latvianhistory.com website. The tragedy in Charlottesville reignited the talk about neo-Nazism in the United States. When it comes to the rise of ultra-far-right in Europe, however, the media and the society on this side of the Atlantic prefers to turn a blind eye, which, if you consider that there cannot be such things as, half Nazis and the damage which was done to everyone 7 decades ago, is nothing short of baffling. Alexey Yaroshevsky, RT, reporting from Washington, D.C.